Good morning, everyone. It's time for another one of our Karmayogi Talks. And today we have a very important person who's going to talk about a real revolution in India that occurred, the White Revolution. Mr. R S Sodhi is one of the prominent leaders in the Indian dairy industry. Currently, he serves as the president of the Indian Dairy Association. But more importantly, he was managing director of the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation Limited, which all of us know as Amul, from 2010 to 2023. And he steered India's largest food products organization to an impressive annual turnover of 71,000 crores in 2022-23. With 42 years of experience in the cooperative dairy sector, he has been instrumental in fostering growth and development, overseeing the procurement of 28 million liters of milk daily from 18,600 village dairy cooperative societies, and processing through 97 dairy plants. And, providing employment and livelihood to millions of people. This model, of course, as all of you are aware, was one of the basis for setting up the Ministry of Cooperation, which is taking the cooperative movement to go way beyond what was done before. So with all of this, we are very, very fortunate that Mr. Sodhi is going to share his experience on India's White Revolution. Mr. Sodhi, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll turn it over to you.
Dhanyavad, namaskar, Shri Adil ji. Namaskar and good morning, everyone. I feel very privileged that today Dudhwala has been given opportunity to speak at this prestigious platform till now, on which I have seen the policymaker, the best of academicians, technologists, scientists, corporate leaders, both domestic and from the global world, politicians, judiciary, architects, economists have shared their experience. So I feel very lucky that today I'm going to share the story of India's White Revolution. The story of India's White Revolution is very important for me because when in 1980, when Operation Flood 1, 2 and 3 was being implemented, which resulted into White Revolution, I was at the center of this place, which is Anand, when I joined IRMA, and then 1982, the Amul. Well, in this story, I'm going to tell that how the story of social and economic revolution in India has happened. This is the story of a nation who was deficient in food and has become the world's largest producer of milk. This is the story of Atmanirbharta as well as vocal for local. This is the story of these small farmers which you see on the picture, who have created an organization which they own and which is India's biggest food brand and the company. This is the story that how a growth of a brand has not only changed the destiny of that organization or the people who own it, but also the destination of a nation. And while I'm talking about White Revolution, I think you'll be able to understand how a food aid given by the global bodies, if judiciously used, can create permanent livelihoods to the million of people. And also lastly, this is a story how an ageless brand or enterprise can be created in a country like India. Well, before I tell you the whole thing, let me tell you what are the contents of this, my 45 minutes presentation. Naturally, I'll set the first context, how India has achieved the world leadership, and what was the contribution of Amul in this, and how Amul became the ageless brand, what are the reasons for the success, and how NDDB, National Dairy Development Board, implemented Operation Flood 1, 2 and 3, and also when you're in today's world, if you're talking anything about food, one has to talk how your business is sustainable. And also in dairy, where India has got the world leadership, what are the opportunities and the challenges? India's dairy sector is dependent on these two, cows and buffalo. Well, if we talk about world milk production, today India is world largest producer of world in milk. And this leadership we have been having for the last 30 years. And today, 1/4 of the world is milk is being produced in India. Well, in food, each country always strive to become self-sufficient, and milk is such, or dairy is such, that India is self-sufficient in whole of Asia. You can see in this picture, most of the country around India are deficit, what India was about 50 years back. Whether it's China, Russia, Middle East, Southeast countries, all are still milk deficit countries. Dairy is important, but in India, agriculture, dairy contributes 24% of the agriculture GDP. I'll also later tell you how the contribution of dairy has increased to the agriculture GDP in the last 50 years. This is the very important factors. If you see, because in India, dairy is the livelihood, source of livelihood. So 71% of consumer price is going back into the farmer's pocket. Vis-a-vis, if you see the other parts, it may be 25, 37, 47, 38, on an average 1/3. But Indian dairy is different than the rest of the world. Indian dairy is smallholder farmers. Average Indian farmer holds around 2 to 3 cattle of buffalo, vis-a-vis the countries which are self-sufficient dairy or rich in dairy having big dairy farms. Well, this is just a little data about contribution of various species in the world milk production. About 81% from the cattle or cow, 15% buffalo, that too mainly India, Pakistan and other countries, and remaining from the sheep, goat, etc. As far as India's leadership is concerned, how we achieved it, this is a very, very important graph, and I feel any Indian can feel proud of this graph. You can see, if you go back to the left side, till mid-70s, we were 1/8 of Europe and 1/3 of USA milk production, or I can say equal to the Australia, Netherlands production. And then in mid-70s, when Operation Flood was implemented, and you can see by 90s, we crossed world #1 milk producing country, USA. And today, with 239 million metric ton milk which we are producing, we are more than double than the USA, and around 30% more than the whole of Europe. So this graph, wherever we have shown, everybody always feel envy of India, that how we have achieved this, not only self-sufficiency, but also the world leadership, which I'm going to explain you how we have done it. Well, this shows per capita milk availability in India from the independence days. You see, after independence, as the population was growing, our per capita milk availability was reducing because of practically no increase in milk production. So it reduced to 110 grams per person per day, and today it is 4 times more, around 460 grams. This is also very important data. Mid-70s, when the Operation Flood started, our milk production was 24 million metric ton. And after 25 years, it multiplied 3x. And then again after 25, again 3x. You can see every 25 years, our milk production multiplies 3x. And per capita availability or consumption in spite of increase in population multiplied by 2 times. And when Operation Flood started in 70s, we were contributing only 6% of the world milk production, which is today 45%. And the way, today 24%, and the way we are growing every year, another 25 years, we'll be producing 628 million metric ton, or 45% of world milk production. And our per capita consumption will be around 852 gram per person per day, which means we'll be having around 100 million metric ton surplus of milk, which we need to export if we want to continue to give good price to the farmers and also good milk at affordable price to the consumers. India's milk production is dependent on around 200 million cows and 100 million buffaloes. Our milk production is low input, low output, so average yield of milk is around 1/10 of world best cows average. But India dairy is not a business. India dairy is a source of livelihood for 80 million rural households. So if you multiply by 5, so you can say 40 crore people are partially or fully dependent on dairy or milk. Out of the 70% are small and marginal farmers. But let me tell you, any agriculture produce, whatever is produced in India is not surplus. If I take today average, 65 crore liter of milk is produced. Out of that, around 40% is retained in the village or sold within the village. The remaining 60%, whatever is surplus, 22% is only coming to the organized sector of 14 crore liter. And what of 14 crore liter is coming to the organized sector, around 53-54% is going to the cooperatives, and remaining is going to the organized private sector. This shows that from 70 to 21, 50 years, how the production of agriculture has changed. If you see, in the last 50 years, the crop production will multiply by 3.4 times at the compound average growth rate of 2.46. Paddy only 2.8 times, wheat 4.6 times. But if you see, dairy or milk production has multiplied by 10 times, 3 times more than the crops. Other livestock sector has been equally good. You can say poultry multiplied by 23 times, fisheries around 12 times. And let me also add here, in livestock sector, whether milk, poultry, fishery, there's no MSP, no subsidies, no power subsidy, no input subsidies. Even income from the livestock sector is not classified under agriculture. I mean, it is not income tax free also. In spite of not so many external financial aids, this sector, livestock and fishery, has grown 3 to 4 or 5 times than the crop sector in India. And this is where I think our policy makers and others have to learn. And you can see what is the composition, how agriculture composition have changed in the last 50 years. Cereals used to contribute 37% only, now half of that. And milk group, which used to be 10%, now 2.5 times more in the last 50 years in the agriculture composition. That was the production. Let us talk about the consumption. If you see the latest monthly per capita expenditure, urban household is 7,000 rupees and rural is around 4,100. And out of that, if you see what are the various food items contribute, processed food, which includes all the processed food, means juices, tea, coffee, biscuits, etc. It is around 10%. Milk is the largest with 8.4% in rural. Then if you add fruits and vegetable, it will cross even milk. Same is in case of urban also. In urban household expenditure, milk is contributing around 7.2%. And fruits and vegetable together is around 8%. This is the non-food items. You can see among all the non-food items, still dairy or milk is the highest. The milk or dairy consumption spent is in India, in urban sector is around 466 rupees per month and rural is 314, which is more than the pulses, bread and sugar put together. This is the importance of the dairy in the average Indian's monthly household expenditure. And also, but consumption of milk is not similar across India. Milk consumption is more than meat and eggs in the north and west part of India. You can see in this graph. Whereas the east and south, if you see, the consumption or the expenditure on meat has, or eggs has, or poultry has been more than milk. Now coming again back to the white revolution and Amul. Let me start with Amul, my parent organization where I worked for 41 years. Today, Amul with 80,000 crore rupees turnover last financial year is India's biggest food or FMCG company, which handles around 30 million liters of milk per day. And Amul is 8th largest dairy company of the world. How Amul achieved it, how it became number one, how a cooperative which is owned by 3.6 million farmers could create such a revolution. I think these are the major reasons for the success of Amul. Like any other organization, the first reason has always been the founders or the leadership. If I tell you about the leadership contribution, I take you to 1940s, when India was like any other Asian country which are today, a very milk deficit country, heavy dependence on imports of dairy commodities from the dairy rich countries. I mean, in fact, India was a major market for a country like New Zealand, Australia, Europe for the disposal of their surplus milk. The quality of milk and milk product was not good, and farmers were being exploited. They were not getting good price from the private parties like Polson, who was operating in one part of Gujarat, which during those times called Kera district, or today is called Anand district. And then farmers went to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who belonged to that place, and told him how they have been exploited. And let me tell you, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel gave these farmers one very good business lesson, which is even true or applicable today in any agriculture produce, that he told farmers, if you want good price for your produce, which is agriculture produce, you should not only produce it, you should aggregate, you should process, and you should market it yourself. He told farmer you should own the whole supply chain. And then he gave the responsibility to the very selfless, dedicated business leaders, Shri Vallabhbhai Patel, who could lure and motivate the professional Dr. Varghese Kurian, who had returned from Michigan State University after completion of his master's, and he had come temporarily for 6 months to Anand to complete his training period, compulsory training period, because he has gone on scholarship. But he, because of seeing the vision, seeing what is the potentiality of this cooperative, he stayed at Anand for 61 years and made India what it is today. Amul model is simple. We call it 3-tier structure. Bottom of it is milk producer. Around 200 milk producers form a cooperative society where they collect the milk, which I'll tell later on. And around 1,000 village dairy cooperative society in a district, form a district union where milk processing is done. And at the state level, state federation is made, which is called, like in case of Amul, Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, which is marketing products manufactured or packed by district milk union under a common brand name Amul to millions of retailers and the consumer. So here, a farmer or a small milk producer in a village with 1 or 2 cows of buffalo is getting direct link to the consumer in the whole by owning the whole supply chain. And because of this, in India, farmers is able to get 70 to 86% of what consumer is spending on the liter of milk, vis-a-vis 36 to 38% in the other parts of the world. What has been the philosophy of this business, which has become ageless? Let me also tell you, if you just try to count how many brands or organizations are there for the last 80 years, there are very few. And if I ask you, not only exist, but the organization of brands which not only exist but also growing at much faster pace than the previous decade, it is Amul. And it is because of business philosophy. So what is the business philosophy of a cooperative or Amul? One is value for many and value for money. Providing stable and remunerative price to millions of milk suppliers day after day. So they are motivated, they are encouraged to produce, they are encouraged to invest, they are encouraged to feed to the animals and also buy new animals. Similarly, whatever is produced needs to be sold. So selling best quality, tasty dairy products across India and abroad by using best of technology, packaging, branding, but at affordable price. So in a short, I can say the reason for the success of this India's biggest business is give more to earn more. Give more to the stakeholders, so you will definitely earn more. The other reason for success of Amul is consistency in business structure, in product recipes, branding and communication, and HR practices. Business structure I have already explained to you. So Amul continues to own that business structure for the last 80 years. We are there buying directly from the farmers and not from any private entrepreneur. And these are the pictures of a village cooperative society where whatever milk is coming, it is checked for the quality and quantity electronically and money is deposited in the farmer's account. This is a picture of village cooperative society in 1950s, and this is today how the young women and other women are coming morning and evening to pour milk in the village cooperative society. And then the district union comes into district union transport the milk from the village society and process it at the central dairy plant. They also provide the cattle feed and other veterinary inputs to the farmers. And the district union is also managed by the elected board of directors, and they elect a chairman, and also they recruit best of the professional to run the dairy. Then these 18 district union federate into state federation, and state federation job is to market the product under common brand name across India to 1 million retail outlets. And the state federation board is also managed by the elected board of the state district union. And state federation also employ the professionals to run the organization. So how did India succeed in speculant dairy industry? Now I'm coming to after the success of Amul, how Operation Flood or White Revolution came into being. In 1964, then the Prime Minister of India, Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri, visited Anand to inaugurate a cattle feed plant. And there he saw the prosperity of farmers, how farmers are happy. He visited the places, and then he said, unannounced, that I want to stay in a village. Whole night, unannounced, he stayed in a farmer's house and he talked to the farmers in the village. What is the reason for their prosperity and so happiness? And then he realized this is all due to the having milk cooperative society in the village, which is buying their produce at the best price. So next day morning, he advised Dr. Varghese Kurian that why don't you have 1,000 Amul all over India, and that National Dairy Development Board was founded at Anand on the request of Dr. Varghese Kurian. And National Dairy Development Board implemented Operation Flood 1, 2 and 3, and within 25 years, India, which was a milk deficit country, multiplied its milk production by more than 4 times and became world's largest producer of milk. And whatever you see left side is today is the Amul model in Gujarat. With the white revolution implemented, the same model was implemented all over, where today we have got around 18 million farmers as member of the cooperative society and around 228,000 village cooperative society. Let me tell you, with the formation of cooperative ministry at the center, now again impetus is given to increase the cooperative society, and in next 3 or 4 years, 2 lakh more village cooperative societies are being added with packs. So purpose is that from this 2,28,000 to around 4.5 lakh village cooperative societies will be formed, where they'll be collecting milk and marketing under cooperative system. So thanks to Operation Flood 1, 2, 3, India had its white revolution. And let me tell you, all the funds used for building infrastructure, dairy plant, animal breeding and feeding, healthcare programs came from the food aid, which was monetized. When India received lakhs of tons of food aid, instead of distributing it free, it was monetized gradually, and money was being used for the funding of the Operation Flood 1, 2 and 3. What are the other reasons for the success of Amul is the consistent product recipes. Whatever butter or dairy products you consume today has got the same recipe what it was 60 years back. Amul or any cooperative had never reduced or changed the recipe to reduce the cost of production. I mean, in dairy it is very easy. You replace the expensive dairy fat with the vegetable fat or add sugar more, or you can reduce the weight of a ghee or product in a same size pack. Branding and communication is very important, and today Amul, which has become India's most famous brand, has been investing on branding and communication from day one. Well, creating a brand for any organization or a product is very important so that people can recall it, people can buy your brand. I remember when I was working with Dr. Varghese Kurian, he used to tell us that when you are doing anything with the Amul brand or you're creating or advertising, please don't think you want loyalty for your brand or you want faith for your brand. He used to say that you should do such a work that your customers or your consumer, let me tell you, Amul has got 2 faces of a brand. One face towards the farmers from where Amul is purchasing milk every day, twice, about 3.6 million farmers. And the other side face is consumer side, where they are selling milk and other products daily. So, what Dr. Varghese Kurian used to say that your consumer, your farmers should have blind faith in Amul like they have got in religion. Like faith in religion is where you don't question. I don't question my faith of Sikhism, why I wear turban or why I don't cut my hair. So that comes with the experience, and that will carry forward from generation to generation, and that has happened in case of Amul. Other is basic attributes of brand are more the same. umbrella branding, and brand positioning. Amul across all categories has used the umbrella branding because we feel that nurturing one brand, investing in one brand will be useful for the farmers and consumer, and that is why advertising spend of Amul is always less than 1%, where the industry is 5 to 12. These are the few ads of Amul of 50s when brand building started, and this very famous utterly delicious campaign which started in 60s, the first topical, then the latest when Prime Minister took over third time, and also the President of USA. These are three latest obituary. And Amul right from beginning has been believing in permanent positioning of product. We never change the positioning. Like utterly delicious started in 66, Amul the taste of India in 94, real milk, real ice cream 96, and Amul Doodh Pita India in 2000. Similar is consistent HR practices, where we believe the purity of our organization DNA is very important, and most of the people working at various levels in Amul, including top, are on their first job. Amul has gone for best product technology adoption right from day one, whether creating milk processing for buffalo milk or making cheese out of buffalo milk, or the animal husbandry practice. You can see in 60s, wireless was being used to communicate to the doctor to get to the farmer's house and treat the animals. I mean, these are 50s, 60s pictures. And this is today how technology is being used in the villages for the milk procurement and the digital payment to the farmers. And you can see how the mobile app, to bring transparency in the system, all 3.6 million farmers are using the mobile app, and to provide veterinary service also. Like we have got Aadhaar card, farmers have got air tagging code, which tells them when AI has been done, what treatment has been done, whether they are suffering from any disease or not. And then also there is a centralized call center for providing any animal health or veterinary services. Now, no doubt, it is now based on the app also. Earlier it used to be manual call system. Similarly, for vaccination also, the app system is being used. Now, today's housewife may not like to do the milking by hand. So, now in the villages, entrepreneurs are being encouraged to go for milking machine, where they can go to the farmer's house and can do milking by charging 10, 20, 30 rupees per cow or buffalo. And instead of allopathic or antibiotic medicine, the ethnoveterinary or homeopathic medicines are being used for the treatment of the animal. Like we have got the hand band, the animals now, cattle tracking system is being used, neck band, to check their heat status as well as the health. Spotted sex semen is also being used because we in dairy we do not want male. So by using the spotted sex semen, we get 95% now. It is old figure. 95% of female calf, and also the latest technology of embryo transfer is being used to get more calves out of a good milk producing cow. Similarly, digital integration of automatic milk collection system or digital or automatic milk sampling system for the tankers, which is being used for transportation of milk, and also very dedicated supply chain right from farmers to the consumer. We call it C to C, cow to consumer, or B to C, buffalo to consumer, which is fully integrated by SAP. And for dairy, 4 types of distribution highways are used. I mean, one is the ambient, which is being used for any FMCG product at room temperature. The second very important is chilled distribution highway, where the butter, cheese at 0 to 4 degrees is distributed. Third is for the frozen product, minus 18 to 20, the dairy products or ice creams are being distributed across India. And the fourth very difficult is the fresh product, where within 3 to 4 hours, milk, buttermilk, or curd is being distributed to around 1 million outlets. Sustainability is very important sector. Dairy sector, I think among all the things is, although it's a very, in case of India, highly sustainable, where the animal, human being, and the agriculture is linked to each other. People talk that India agriculture is emission rate is very high, but let me give you a few data. You can understand, you can decide. Per capita emission in India is 1/10 of the world's economically developed countries. No doubt, India also needs to reduce the emission, but per capita our emission is lowest. And Indian dairy industry is a very economical model because dairy is not only providing livelihood to 80 million families, but also to 1.45 billion food security and nutrition. Environmental aspect, see, in agriculture, whatever grains or foods are being produced, it is used or it is consumed by the 1.42 billion population, and whatever roughage or whatever waste is there in the agriculture is fed to the animals. And whatever dung is coming is not also getting waste. It can be used as a dung king right from the beginning for the cooking purpose, or small scale plants for producing the gas or the biofertilizer, or community based large plants. These are some picture of a small farmers based gas plant costing around 25,000 rupees. Carbon footprint of India per liter is higher, around 3 times more. But with the improvement of milk production, I think target is how we can reduce the per liter of gas emission. But before I tell you, let me tell you, when you talk about sustainability, we should not think only environmental point of view. If you ask any milk producer, for him sustainability means his livelihood. For any industry, sustainability means profit maximization or business expansion. For any policy maker or a country, sustainability means food security, employment, law and order. Or for a housewife or a customer, sustainability means affordable nutrition for her children. But unfortunately, sustainability word has been hijacked by the environmentalist. But let me tell you, sustainability starts when stomach is full. Sustainability starts when stomach is full. So while we are talking about the various measures of sustainability, what to do, what not to do, where to reduce emission or not, we have to differentiate between emission for livelihood versus emission necessary. I mean, till now, if I want to conclude what the reason for the success, I think the reason for success is the vision in 1970 for Atmanirbharta, farmers owned supply chain, lucky to have leadership, and also livelihood, which is for 80 million farmers, and very detailed and very meticulous planning and execution of Operation Flood, and to employ best of the professional to execute the Operation Flood. And right from beginning, emphasis given to marketing and branding, and also adoption of best of technology and digital integration. No doubt, we have got number of challenges which are mentioned here, but let me tell you, there are a number of challenges. One thing which I want to tell you, one is that is not applicable only to dairy, but also the food. Somehow, we need to change the mindset of policymakers and the consumer when we talk about food inflation. See, what is the food inflation is actually the food prosperity of the food grower or the farmers. There has been always, we are very worried if price increase of any food. When our income increases, Sensex increases, industrial growth comes, we feel happy, we are growing. When farmers' income increases, we say it is inflation. Similarly, we also need to, when you are doing the budget allocation, we have to see how livestock sector or animal husbandry sector gets its proportion equal to its contribution to the agriculture GDP. Adulteration, analog product, these are also the matter of challenges. But the biggest other challenge in the food growth is how to motivate next generation of farmers to continue growing food or dairy or milk. You see, today, 68% people are in the rural India. Another 25 years, only 50% people will be there in the villages. So we'll be having 1.65 billion mouths to feed and less than half of that hands to produce food. So how to motivate today's youth to continue doing milk production? This is a big challenge. There are opportunity. India is growing with 1.65 billion people at 2047, and dairy, which is a source of livelihood and food security, and a very, very favorable consumer food brands where consumption of animal-based food, whether the milk, poultry or fishery is growing. India has got all the opportunity to become dairy to the world and provide tasty and affordable nutrition not only to the India but most of the developing or underdeveloped part of the world. But these are some estimates of what are going to be an investment opportunity. Today we are processing 14 crore liters per day in the organized sector, which will be 28 crore, and 1.5 lakh crore will be invested in dairy, which will be generating 12 lakhs jobs only in the organized sector. I'm talking 1 lakh jobs per month or per year. And finally, these are the quote of my mentor, Dr. Verghese Kurian. Thank you very much. And these are my email and phone number. If somebody wants to contact me, you're welcome to connect with me anytime. Thank you very much.
Sodhiji, thank you so much. Learned a lot, and you had a very great story to tell about how the dairy industry grew. I'm just going to ask you some questions that have come in from users. One is this model how is this model applicable to vegetables, fruits, and other areas? You all have already, you talked about dairy. How is this applicable to other farming products?
Adilji, because fruits and vegetables are more like milk or dairy, perishable, produced by the small farmers, and also demand in the urban sector is growing. You have seen the monthly per capita expenditure on fruits and vegetables, which is slightly more than the milk. And we also know that how fruits and vegetables are passing through at least 5 to 6 middlemen when it is reaching to the consumer in the urban center, and how farmer is getting only 20 or 30% of what consumer is paying in the city. What is required is forming collection center or cooperatives or FPO in the villages where they can collect directly from the farmers and can sell directly to the vegetable vendors in the nearest city, so that the maximum portion of what they get from the consumer can go back to the farmers. So I feel the milk model is applicable to any agriculture produce where small producers are there and small consumers are there. And Adilji, you mentioned in the beginning that cooperative ministry has been formed by the central ministry. I think this is a very apt step, because India is a country of three, I call them 3S. Small farmers or small trader, small retailer, and small consumer. If any business model which can take care of all these three major stakeholders, it is the structure which is owned by them, which is a cooperative society or the FPO. But what is required? And I gave you the reason. Firstly, required is a leadership to do it.
Right.
Very selfless, dedicated leadership.
No, thank you very much. That's great if it can be applicable to other places, because that will help increase farmer income and production. So I think both those are wonderful things to do. You talked about sustainability, and I want to link that to, we are seeing that the weather and climate is changing over the next 20 years. in terms of certain parts will have more rain, more water, less water. How is that going to put stress on the milk production chain?
I think that is very biggest matter of worry, because the way in India production has been growing in consumption, and if you want to continue, what is required is the feed and the fodder. And to grow feed and fodder, you require water, you require land. So what is required is how to increase the per animal production, or how to get the best feed conversion ratio from same 1 kg of feed, how to get more milk. That can be done by better breeding, better feeding practices, and better animal husbandry and veterinary services. And no doubt, to reduce the methane emission, lot of feeding practices are being changed, because whatever methane emission, gas emission in case of animal husbandry or dairying is there, 72% is entering fermentation, which happens in the cows or buffalo whole digestive system. And that emission you can reduce by changing in the feeding practices and the feed ingredients with the season change. How? By locally sourcing and by the right quantity. So better feed conversion ratio and better feeding practices, we can reduce the gas emission by the dairy industry.
Great. One of the questions that's come in is, how do you get more people to, as you said, how do you get more people to be attracted to this industry and to the rural economy?
I think that question is being faced by the all food or agriculture sector. And if you want to attract today's youth, you ask any, where he or she will be interested. Firstly, the business has to be very modern, cool, contemporary, and more than that, very remunerative, stable and remunerative. Unfortunately, today in agriculture, day by day, to the youth is not finding that it is a very commercially remunerative business. And that can happen if we make food prices in India remunerative. What has happened, and all over world, if you ask any policy maker or government, they like to see how to reduce the food prices. And India is also same. And who gets the benefit of it? Industry. Because wages are kept low. If you increase the food prices, industry wages have to go up. So I think day by day, disparity is increasing between the average rural household income versus the urban. Today is 1:5. Average house income in the rural is 1/5 of urban. Because we are not ready to pay very appropriate price for rural produce and rural service. The mindset needs to be changed. Like I mentioned, food inflation versus food prosperity. Very simple. If today 2 rupees of milk is increased in Delhi, all the newspaper will carry the front page. The milk price increased by 2 rupees. And they will not say anything if pizza prices or anything prices are increased.
Good. Dr. Sodhi, thank you so much. We've run out of time. This has been a wonderful exposition of how one of the great success stories in agriculture in India happened. And you had a ringside seat to it. I think we've all learned a lot. And I'd like to thank you very much for taking part in this and giving us such a good view of the dairy industry and Amul, a brand name that all of us have heard of over the years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adil. Thank you very much.